right? Okay,
Mm.
you see what I did there?
Mhm.
Okay, so that's an easy way to remember this entire circle. And then of course you have G flat because bead G C F, bead G, right? Bead G. So take away the flats, and that's what you've got. It's the same thing above and beneath. So what you want to do is kind of memorize the fourths. Super, super important thing to do. And another good thing to another easy way to remember this is like when you practice something new, um, go through the fourths with that new thing that you just learned. So we talked a minute ago about the major sevenths, and I played. You probably saw me moving around a lot. That's what I did. I actually played this all the major sevenths in a fourth. So I went, G, C, F, right? And then B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat. And then I'm going to start over with bead, B, E, A, D, G, C, F. Okay? So when I learn, it forces my brain to kind of like, because if I just do it in order, like C, D flat, D, E flat, E, F, I can kind of cheat because I can just move all my fingers up a half step, you know? So I don't really have to think about it. So anyways, hopefully that's helpful, guys. But that's what I'm talking about when we say fourth movement. So you really want to memorize those if you can.
Yeah, that was helpful. That's cool.
Awesome. And then also it helps you because you're like 1 to 4, no matter what key you're in. Like that's the fourth, right? 1 to 4. So if we're back to Amazing Grace, so we're going to identify. So circling back around, let's identify our fourth movements, right? So where do we see a fourth movement in this song? There's a couple of hidden ones in here.
Well, the C to the F at the end.
F, good job. Yep, that's right. C to F. There's another one I'm going to give you because it's a little tricky because they're not on the same line. But this C right here is also followed by F.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're going to make that a C7 as well because right before we go to F, we can turn that C into a C7. And there's one more. One more fourth movement, okay?
F to B flat at the end.
Close. Close. That's a good guess, but actually there, since that's a C bass, it's technically not a fourth. Yeah.
Oh.
That's okay. You see this one right here, guys? G to C.
Mm-hmm.
So we can turn that G right there because G to C is a fourth as well. G to C. So we can turn that G into a G7 as well. Now let's see if that sounds good, okay? Is that cool? So let's do that. So Amazing Grace. Da, da. I'm playing them in the basic form, right? Okay, that G sounds cool there. I mean, it has a very full sound to me. C, C7, okay? And that leads into the F, right? I'm gonna jazz it up here in a minute because this sounds really boring. I'm just trying to do that to show you the point of the. So that C7 there, that flowed nicely into the F as well. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take it, because we live in 2021, we want it to sound a little cooler than that, right? So we're gonna take it, we're gonna change the chords into 2 chords. So we're gonna change all of our Fs into F2s, all of our Cs into C2s, all of our B flats into B flat 2s. Okay, cool, so let's do it again. So sorry, played a 9. Okay, it has a little bit of an old-fashioned sound to it, okay? But you still need to learn this chord before you can advance to the next chord. Does that make sense? Because we want to build a good foundation. So there's a couple of things we can do to dress up a song. So when I'm playing a song, I'm thinking, how do I want this song to feel? Like, do I want it to feel more worshipful? Am I playing with somebody that, like my pastor, he's an incredible musician, but he likes more like a bluesy type sound to his playing. So and he plays saxophone, it's really, really good. So when we play a song, like we know he's going to want to jazz it up, or else he'll give us the look and be like, jazz it up, guys. Like he doesn't, he doesn't. But sometimes it's maybe a song where he wants more of a worshipful sound. So we have to decide as musicians how we want that song to come across in the moment. Okay. So if it's more of a worshipful moment in that service, we need to be sensitive enough to know, well, maybe I shouldn't play a seventh because that sounds a little harsh, right? I mean, it has a little bit of a harsh sound to it. It's just very jazzy, very, I don't know how to say it, very in your face. So the way that I would do that is I would actually take the seventh and I'm gonna actually replace it. I don't want to delete this because, anyways, I'm just gonna make a new one. I can send you all the notes after class or something. I'm gonna replace my sevenths with a fraction chord now. All right, and I'm also gonna turn my minor sevenths, my minor chords into minor sevenths. Are y'all familiar with how to do that already?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, I was gonna say if not, we can cover that briefly too in a minute. So what I've done here, guys, you probably saw it. I basically kept the two, and then I just instead of playing a seventh, I'm gonna play the third of that chord in the right hand. Does that make sense what I did? So like for F, I took instead of F7, I'm playing F2 with an A in the bass. Okay, instead of C7, I'm playing C2 with an E in the bass. So I've taken the middle note out of my major chord in the right hand, and I've moved it to the left hand, and then I've replaced that major chord with a suspended two type chord. Okay, you see what I did there? So
Mhm.
let's play it again. This is going to have a more like CCM, worshipful contemporary Christian type stuff. So you hear the difference? It's a pretty big difference between the two styles, right? And that's without doing any fills or anything, right? So we haven't done any I really wasn't doing anything up here. You could be moving, doing all these different fills, playing your chords higher. I'm trying not to use different inversions. I mean, if you do that, now you're talking. There's a lot there, right?
So our church is more gospel. So would you recommend the first way we did it or the second way you did it for a gospel feel?
Yeah, probably the first way.
Okay, that's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah. Especially if you're doing it for song service. Now, if you're doing this song like off the cup because the spirit's moving, the second way, if everybody's like, crying, hands raised, you probably want to do it the more worshipful way, right? Versus the more like a little bluesy, gospel-y type way.
I don't know.
Yeah.
At our church, the whole band is gospel, but me.
Hey, that's all right. That's all right. So thanks for asking. That's a fantastic question. But that's the way you kind of turn it more worshipful is you take out
Okay.
some of those seventh, the dominant seventh. Now you want to
Mhm.
keep the minor sevenths in there. You want to keep the major sevenths in there. Like instead of the two on the four, I would typically do a major seven on the four.
Okay.
If I'm going for that worshipful sound, right?
Mm.
And a little secret that a lot of people don't realize, you can change almost any major chord into a fraction chord. So like almost anytime you've got a regular major chord, you can replace it with the fraction chord equivalent. So like you can replace a regular C with a C2 over E. You can replace almost any F with an F2 over A. Even B flat, you can replace a B flat with a B flat over D. So and that's something that'll give a little.
How are you getting that bottom note again on your left hand?
So what I'm doing is like take a C major chord.
Okay.
Instead of playing C in the bass,
Yeah.
play the third in the bass.
The third. Okay.
Yep. And then
Gotcha.
what I was doing is I was actually changing the third to the second in the right hand as well. So the
Okay.
right hand's playing that typical suspended two chord that I know we talk a lot about it. And then you're
Okay.
using the third of the original major chord. So F major would be F A C, play A in the left hand, and then change that A to G.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep. Great question.
I didn't recognize what you were doing there, but I got it now.
Yeah, it looks a little different on the B flat too, right? So B flat over D,